Success in farming is all about precision and efficiency, ensuring every seed, every drop of water, every nutrient and treatment counts. Terraplex Ag is helping farmers all over Iowa and the Midwest do just that. With precision ag drone technology and support from Terraplex, you'll boost your productivity and make timely and informed decisions, all while reducing your costs and increasing your profit. It's time to revolutionize your farming. Harvest the benefits with Terraplex Ag. Visit TerraplexAg.com.
My name is Joseph Hurst. I live in Ankeny, Iowa, and I'm a part of the PMBA program. I currently work as the Director of Sales at Stony Creek Hotels in Johnston, Iowa, and I chose the Iowa State MBA program because it just made perfect sense. About 2 years ago, I started this wonderful program, and I couldn't imagine not having done it. What has helped the most balance work, life, school has been the people I'm in class with. It's great to go through questions, problems, study for tests, and it just makes the whole class so much easier. As a working professional thinking about doing an MBA program, I get night classes aren't everybody's dream. I get after a long day of work, you may not want to go do more, but it's worth it. You're going to learn a lot, not just from the professors in the program, but from the other students. They come from all walks of life. They are from different age groups. They're from different companies. They're from all kinds of different backgrounds. They've got all kinds of different stories. And after 2 years, I've made some of the best friends I've ever made, learned the most I've ever learned, and I can't imagine what we're going to do after we're done.
Hello, welcome to Williams and Blum on a Monday today, the 5th of August. Happy birthday to my mom. Happy birthday, Mom. Love you. I know you're listening down there at the Lake of the Ozarks. God bless you. Put up with me all those years. We are presented, as always, by Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation. Check them out at mechdyne.com. We are in the Wild Rose Casino Studios today, and I will bring in Brent Blum, who has been hard at work raising funds to bring in the next generation of Cyclone championships with the We Will Collective. How are you today, my friend?
I'm good. I need a vacation from vacation.
I feel you.
It was like one of those so we were up in Okoboji, which was an amazing day event, and then my wife and I celebrated our 10th anniversary up there. So we stayed for the weekend, and now I'm like, I gotta work.
I didn't realize it was your 10th. I knew it was
Yeah.
your anniversary. I didn't realize it was number 10. Well, congrats on that.
10 years since you drank like 35 cans of Busch Light in one evening. Which was a highlight, really.
Yeah. And then I'm positive I've told this story, but I had a physical on the following Monday, and the doctors thought I was like dying because my like triglycerides or whatever were just so far off. And they're like, "What is wrong with you?" They're like, "Your blood, it's like you weigh 400 pounds." And I'm like, "Can I come back in like 2 days?"
It's like we didn't plan on playing Flippy Cup at the Blum wedding.
No. And then it was our friends at the Iowa Clinic, And,
yes.
They're like, I know these people, and they're really concerned about me. And I was like, yeah, let me just come back in like 2 days. I'm just going to drink a bunch of water. And then the old numbers got back to normal. But, congrats. So my mom's birthday, your 10th, and then my dad's turning 70, which we were celebrating down at the Lake of the Ozarks last week. I heard that I caught some strays by you and Jeff Woody up on stage for not making it to Okoboji, but I appreciate you all filling in for me, and I'll be there next year. I promise. I actually said too, I didn't tell you this, but I'm going to make it up to our friends in Okoboji, and I'm going to throw I'll do all the work. I'm going to throw a basketball game watch for basketball season on like a Saturday, and we'll go to Westo, and we're going to do a big game watch, and I'll help raise a little money for you guys. So already working on that.
We can't get up there enough. Just amazing people and
really good Cyclone fans up in that pocket. Yeah, a lot of good ones.
C-Dub, we sold it out. Like it was a big room, and we sold it out. And so
not surprised.
Yeah, I mean it was just a great day, and so appreciate everybody who came up and said hello. And Chris, a lot of people said, "Hey, we miss Chris," but family's first, and we totally understand that. But you were missed as well. You were missed as well.
I missed it. I had serious FOMO, and I had a decision to make, and it was like Man, it's a long drive from the Lake of the Ozarks to
It,
Okoboji.
it is.
It's like
You,
9 hours when you put it all together. And then I had family from Arizona in town, which was kind of exciting because all their kids went to Arizona State and planning a little basketball trip down to Tempe, I think, do the whole family thing down there. Which that's a cool part of this Big 12 thing.
yeah,
You would know this better than me. A lot of Iowa State alums in that area.
huge. Yeah, I
Yeah.
mean it's interesting. I mean the biggest retirement places because when I worked at the foundation, we would always have an event in two places in the winter. In Naples, a lot of Iowans go to
Oh yeah.
the
Oh
west
yeah.
coast of Florida, and then the greater Phoenix area, Scottsdale ish. So yes, I'm guessing Iowa State is going to be well represented in its games down in Tempe and down in
All
Tucson as
those
well.
snowbirds. Yeah, and
Yeah,
then yeah. So no, and I've got one more little end of the week trip that I'm doing, and then I mean we really haven't done anything. This basement has consumed me all summer, and we're finally getting it back. I'd say my basement's back to like 80% now, and it's football season, and I'll get back on Sunday from the second little trip, and then it's on
it
until April, working
it was
nonstop.
it was
Looking
so
forward to
great
it though.
to listen to the media day press conference and start talking about football with all the
Yeah,
other stuff. Like it was just like, oh, a breath of fresh air. And we're now 4 days in, 5 days in for the clones, and man, things are looking great. Things are looking great. Super excited for the season, and we are C-Dub. We're less than 4 weeks away from the first game.
we are. And I was excited too, just to be able to sit and edit Rob and Connor's stuff. Like I enjoy that. It's one of my favorite parts. Sit down and piece some things together. I do want to throw this out there. If you're itching for football season, we will be in LeClaire. So if you're an Eastern Iowa
Yes.
fan and you want to help raise money for the collective, and we'll do a big, really good timing this year on February the 16th. It's a Friday.
August.
August. Yeah. Did I say February?
You did,
Yeah.
dude.
August. I'm already to March Madness. August the 16th, we will be at Mississippi River Distilling. And I got one. I don't have it on me. I got a new bottle of the Cyclone Fanatic Cody Road, and it is, I think, by far the best one that they have done. And you'll be able to purchase those bottles there that night. But it will start, I believe, 5 o'clock is like a social hour type thing, and we'll probably start a program around like 7. I know Jeff Woody's going to be there, and you're working on potentially hopefully some basketball players.
Yep.
And then I've got a couple other tricks up my sleeve for that event. So, and Ryan from Mississippi River Distilling is big of an Iowa State fan. He's kind of one of the like psycho fans, to be honest with you. I say that, and that's a positive thing for him. So
Ryan.
get out there, and we'll make sure and tweet out those ticket links and all that stuff. And Ryan always makes a good donation back to We Will from that night too. So yeah, I did because I knew our premium subscribers would.
They're itchy. They're ready
They're
to go.
itching.
Yeah.
And so I sent the text messages out, got a little got some notes on fall camp thus far. That has been posted. I posted that late last night on our premium board and for our Patreon subscribers. Not going to get into all the details from that, but we will highlight some of that stuff today on today's show. And in our Whipple's Hybrids Big 12 segment, I want to talk about a column that Bill Connolly from ESPN wrote this week about the Big 12. And I thought it was fascinating. I thought it echoed a lot of what we've said on this show for 2 years, a little more eloquently than I could do it. I don't speak for you. You're in Connolly's hemisphere. I am not. But I do want to hit on that because I thought it was super interesting and very well said. I want to go over a couple position groups with you for football.
Yeah.
Blum, because this is hype. This is hype time, right? Like this is the hype time of year where
Everyone feels great.
Everybody's undefeated.
Yep.
All the freshmen are looking good. I will say this, you can generally tell, at least in basketball. I'll have a basketball report from the offseason later today. Usually this is the time of year, though, where you know if you have a bust in basketball. Football, I don't think it's as clear because there's more of a developmental phase in that sport. But you also, this time of year, you usually in football know, okay, this guy's got something. right? Like generally in my 20 years of doing this, when the coaches tell me, and this isn't just Campbell's staff, this is Paul Rhodes, this is Dan McCarney, like usually when a guy is on campus for not very long and they're saying we've got something here, usually it hits. It's not always an All-American, but usually that guy has a pretty good career. And we're starting to hear some of these guys specifically on the offensive side of the ball, but there's two position groups really, Brent, that I'd like to kind of break down in depth today because I think we know who the starters are.
Yes.
We know the top end guys here. But I'm really interested about running back and wide receiver, and let me tell you why. Specifically at wide receiver, I see a really deep group, but I see a ton of seniors at the top.
Great
and,
point. Yeah. What's next? Yep.
And I'm looking at guys like Eli Green and Isaiah Alston, and then this crop of freshmen, the kid from Utah. I'm a Benny Nguyen guy. Like I'm a card carrying member of that fan club here. There are a lot of freshmen who, from the sound of things, are very good, but I don't know how many reps they're going to be able to get this year because they're so loaded in front of them. I want to talk about that group and also running back because I think it's similar. I think I could look at this and I could say, Abu Sama's the guy. He's proven. He's got those reps. He's ready to go. But I think that you could make an argument that Dylan Lee might be in the same spot where Sama was a year ago, realistically.
I think that's very fair. I think Lee would be further ahead right now.
Okay.
Because Lee got here in January. I don't think trying to think about him. I don't think Abu got in till summer last year. So, I mean, he's had more reps.
And then Mr. Hansen Carson Hansen's the same spot where Sama is in his development, right? He's played a lot.
And he's added like 15 pounds or something. So
correct. And then, I got a little nugget. I was just told, and I don't know what this means. I don't know if this is like in the kick return game, but this kid from Eastern Michigan is really looking good so far, and they like him. Jalen Jackson is his name, the little guy, but faster than hell. Can rip off a kick return and take it to house. Really interesting running back group too, where I'm really interested to see how Taylor Mauser and that offensive staff goes with that group specifically, because I think I think you could go one of two ways. Where one, it's just like you could almost try and do too much,
yes,
right? Where you lose. We've seen Iowa State staffs do this in the past, where you're too greedy and you want to get everybody on the field and you can't develop a sense of rhythm. But it's also like, man, you do have guys not only who are talented, but they all do different things well. So I'm fascinated to see what that group looks like in September.
Agreed. And I think the one thing with Abu, you saw it at times last year. He's a big, home run hitter, but you didn't necessarily see the, I call the Brees Hall yards, where he's just grinding out 5, 6, 7 yards at a time. And you wonder if one of those guys will emerge as that. And Abu's put on a bunch of weight too. So that was the goal for him this offseason, was to be a little bit more physical in the hole. He's got the breakaway speed. That's not the question with him. But I think it's a little bit of a misconception that he's going to get, 25 carries a game. I think Iowa State is going to try and balance it. And from all reports, this Jalen Jackson he's not a big guy, but he has played at this level, at a high level, and he can be a reliable person, even if it's just in spell of Abu. But you're right, he has been great on special teams. And it's worth noting, C-Dub, he missed some time in the spring. He did get here in January. He missed some time with some sort of lower body injury. I don't know exactly what it was. So he's now fully healthy and up to speed. And I think this group is super interesting. Abu will be the headliner. There's no question about it. But I think you're going to see more of those running backs than maybe the casual fan realizes. Anymore, it's twofold. I think that's the way college football is going. You're just playing more guys. We don't have Troy Davis getting 40 carries in a game anymore.
The running back position's changed and the portal's changed it too.
Yeah, and so you want to keep these, and it's better for the running back too if you're not getting 30 carries, because then you're going to wear and tear. So
hence Mike Gundy saying he was going to punish Ollie Gordon by making him run it 40 times in a game.
Thanks a lot, Mike.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to see more of these guys, and I don't think they're going to be shy to use any of them. And Dylan Lee's going to play. There's no question in my mind he's going to play. So we'll see how it works out. But I think that the high end talent is really good in that room. And you're right, Jalen Jackson through the first 4 days, he put in a lot of good work this summer. And I said this a couple weeks ago. Iowa State will win a game because of Jalen Jackson this year, guaranteed. Now, will that be on running back or special teams? I'm not sure, but he will impact the game, and he's somebody that you should get to know.
I'm actually as excited about him on special teams as I am anywhere.
Yes.
Because that's just where, and we saw Iowa State get better there, take a big step forward. Where Jeff Woody on his shows always talks about those hidden yards.
Hidden yards, yeah.
Yeah, and, they took a big step forward last year, and I think that probably helped him 1.5 wins on the season last year. And if you've got that, and I also I like the aspect, put your best players back there, but I'd rather not have Jalen Knoll returning kicks right. Like,
yeah, he's still going to be. He's too dangerous not to be back.
I get it. But my point is, if you have more of those guys, and you don't have to play your top end, I get it. Knoll's probably a bad example, but what? You see my point. Like, if let's say Knoll tweaks a hammy in week 3, it's like you got some other options back there, and you don't really have that big of a drop off. Jackson will be back there on kick return, right?
Yes, there's no question. I'd be curious who those others are back there. I mean, it'll be Knoll and Jackson.
Well, Knoll will be back on punts because punt return's just different. Like, that's where you just got to have that guy you can trust.
For sure. And God, Knoll's been – I got a text on Friday, and it said, I don't know how anyone's going to cover Jalen Knoll and Jaden Higgins at the same time. I was like, okay.
Yeah, and it helps to have a 8-foot tight end.
You're right. So
and that's the other thing. It's like, the other wide receivers too. It's like you got these 2 guys who transferred in, right? Who played a lot, and then you have Darren Wilson, who's been there for like 15 years now.
Daniel Jackson.
Why do I get him and Darren Wilson? Daniel Jackson. Darren Wilson was. I'll get my eras mixed up, but yeah, point taken though. Both those guys, it seemed like they were in the program forever. And you see my point though. It's a good thing though. Like, I'd rather not be having to play true freshmen at wide receiver, but they're really, really deep, and I think running back's the same way. And then I would go to the defensive line, and I think you could make the same conversation. I'm less confident about the back end of the defense, and that sounds crazy, given what Iowa State has at safety. And then I think Miles Purchase fits that. Like, I'm really confident about him. He had a really good offseason. But the back end, we can talk about that later.
Yeah,
but the D-line to me seems the same way though. It's like and that's where all this 4-man front talk is coming about. Like, it seems like it's this like embarrassment of depth. Now, I don't know if they have the top end guy like a Jaquan Bailey or a Will McDonald as far as the pass rush goes, but really excited to see what that group can do. And I'm guessing too, John Haycock he's very, I'll say this because I love you, Coach. He's seasoned. I'm not going to call him old, but he's not stubborn either. Like, this is not a guy who is afraid to evolve. So I'm really anxious to see what they do there. Those are I don't know. The more that I'm looking into this team, those are, I guess, kind of the 3 groups that I'm really fascinated by.
Well, it'll be interesting. So I always like this exercise, and on August 5th, as it is, rank the strengths of the position groups. And I think on my end, I think I'm putting receiver at 1, D-line at 2. I mean, I'm going to put quarterback at 3 because I think that highly of Rocco. You just don't know behind him yet. I mean, I think
we don't know.
That's an obvious concern. But then where do you go, right? Running back at 4, and then it gets really interesting. I agree. Linebackers for me are. I'm huge.
I like these guys, but there's still going to be a curve. Like, I don't care how good Cooper Ebel and Brazina and
then secondary wise, I mean, I put secondary ahead of them because again, Freeler, Verdone, Coop, and Purchase have done it. It's just those corners we don't know yet, and then I don't know. I do like the secondary. It's just beyond the corners. In Porter's played a little bit, but Williams and Purchase, so we'll see there. And then linebackers, I think, have high upside. We'll see. And then there's the offensive line, which, as Matt talked about in his press conference, and everybody knows, the offensive line will dictate the success of the season. It's truly, you can have as much skill as you want, but if you don't have any time, it's not going to matter. And I think that group is better. And I know everyone's gonna be like, "Oh, here comes the offensive line." They made some strategic moves this offseason to improve the offensive line. Now, is it going to be at the point where you go from average, which I would say was the high end last year, to good, or maybe even to great? I don't know yet. But Travis has come in, the big fella. I would say he has solidified a starting spot already. I mean, I think we can safely say that on August 5th. And so that has now necessitated some moves throughout the line. The line is going to look a lot different. You will probably have 3 new bodies on that offensive line that play regularly, and that is Travis. And you're going to get a lot more of Dalen Hasert, by the way. That guy's come in.
Well, and he would have
healthy.
played a lot last year had he not gotten hurt.
Yep. And
Important to note.
And then differently, Hufford's moved to center. Like, that is a done deal. He is now going to be the starting center. And so you look a lot differently. It gives you some flexibility to move Neal inside. You've got Miller at another tackle. And this Trevor Bohr is coming on strong too. So, you got bodies there. Dylan Barrett's an experienced guy. You can throw him in there. And Jim Boniface started every game last year at center. So, again, you've got some similar bodies, but it's going to look different. And I think it's up to Clanton and team. They're saying all the right things, but we'll see it. You got to see it first. And I'm in the card carrying member of the I'll believe it when I see it club. And that group, I think, has the biggest question marks coming in just because of track record. But I do think they have done a lot there this offseason. Like, they really have. It's not just rolling out the same 5 guys. They have done some adjustments, and we'll see if those pay off.
I think they'll be better.
Brendan Black, too. I didn't mention Brendan Black, who's a year older and played as a true freshman last year.
I'm really interested, too, in just the schedule part of things, too. It's like the strength of the Big 12 overall, and we'll get into this. I think there's a lot of good teams. I still don't think that there's probably a great team in this league. And, where does Iowa State fit in the hierarchy of this league going forward? We'll get into that. I want to thank a couple of our great sponsors. Colin Newell, want to give him a shout out over at Farm Bureau Financial Services. He's saving Blum and I hundreds of dollars.
So I called in a favor from Newell. So I got asked by a great Cyclone, the celebrity steer showing contest at the
I saw Colin was a part of that. Yeah.
And so he's like, "Hey, we want a celebrity," and the guy nicely said, "But you're not a big enough celebrity." And I don't think he meant from a height standpoint, but it may have been.
He told you that? Somebody actually said that to you?
No, he didn't.
I was gonna say that's.
But it was kind of hinted like, "Hey, do you have any connections to like Cyclones?" And I was like, "I'm available," but no. He chose better. So Newell, I made a call to Colin Newell, former All Big 12 offensive lineman,
awesome,
and great insurance agent. And Colin's going to step in and. Man, he's going to show that steer. Let me tell you what. But he's got competition because also in the steer contest, Audie Crooks and David Carr. So good luck, Colin.
And that's next weekend.
Yes, I think it's next weekend.
Yeah, I did that a few years ago. That's a cool event. So,
root for Colin.
Colin. If you're an ag person is going to be at that deal, keep an eye out for the big dog.
Look out for Big Newell over
Maybe
there.
He can save you some money on your insurance too.
That's right.
Want to shout out to Jeff Kelderman Manufacturing. I know he's listening and listens each and every week. We appreciate you. Kelderman.com. Also, our friend Chappie, Andrew Chaplin, does great real estate in the entire state of Iowa. We've already got him some leads, I know, and he would love to buy and sell your home.
Hey, C-Dub, those rates are coming down, and that's not necessarily a great thing.
I actually talked to a realtor yesterday that he thought that they'd be around 5%.
Yeah, they're coming down. They're going to come down potentially quickly here. So if And I do. I talk to Cyclones all the time. I know Cyclones who will come up to Ames for their vacation home, literally. Like this happens for football and basketball season. Well, if you need a place, a condo, there's a lot of great places that they keep building them on Ames. Contact
Yeah.
Chappie. He'll show you around and he'll get stuff done quickly.
Did you guys sell some Ames Lager on last week?
We sold a lot of Ames Lager. The Ames Lager was a flowing, my friend.
You got the new can too, like the shiny can.
Yeah, we had one of the establishments up in Mokoboji has the coveted Ames Lager Tall Boys.
Oh wow!
So
are those going to be in stores?
In some, they will be in Sukup though. I know that.
Well,
so the Tall Boys will be in Sukup.
That's good to hear.
And I think that So anyway, it was a lot of Ames Lager.
I looked. They did not have them in Osage Beach, Missouri.
Well,
I was disappointed.
Could have brought them with, but that's okay.
I did try the Hulk Hogan beer. Have you seen that?
The what now?
Hulk Hogan has a beer. It's super. No, it's really good. I brought some back. You can come try it. It's 4.2%.
That doesn't equate to like Hulk Hogan needs to be a double IPA, like an Imperial Stout.
Yeah, it was really interesting. I picked it up and it's called the Great American Beer. It's almost like he's pandering to us a little bit.
Not
Hulk Hogan.
Never.
There's a movie coming about him too, about the Gawker thing where he had like a sex tape. Did you read?
Yeah,
about
I
that?
followed that. Yeah, he won a lot of money on that thing.
Let's get into our Wiffles Hybrids Big 12 segment. Bloom is up against it with a very important meeting he has to get to. I actually have no idea what he has to do, but he has a hard out. Bill Connolly, I'm just going to read to you from his column. Here's a dirty little secret, though. A portion of the SEC and Big Ten fan bases are going to be absolutely miserable going forward. Making more money isn't going to suddenly make Illinois' football program better than Clemson's. And with more strong programs in your conference come more loss opportunities. We've seen increasingly irrational head coach buyouts over the years, but we've only begun to see how irrational a program and its boosters can get. As fans of Chelsea or Manchester United in the English Premier League can attest, sometimes having more money just makes you sillier, not better. Meanwhile, the Big 12 is set to become the most entertaining conference on the planet. Actually, it already was. And he goes on to list one-score games from 2018 to 2023, where the Big 12 led the way. 46.5% of games were one-score games.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And then take that. The SEC was the last league when it comes to that at 33%. Which, listen, I don't know what this means. I do know that it kind of backs what we've thought, what I've thought. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but this new league, though, I think is only going to get closer because you're getting rid of the two. Now, Texas hasn't exactly been a giant over the last decade, but they've been a sleeping one. And if you, I know a lot of us hate Texas out here, but they're not a level playing field when it comes to a lot of things. And you eliminate those two, and you bring in other like-minded cultural fits that are on similar budgets, similar fan bases. I just think this thing tightens up even more, which is going to be really entertaining. But I also think at the end of the day, it's probably going to hurt the Big 12 when it comes to playoff teams and all that stuff, because I think that this league will be a cannibalizing type of situation. But what do you think of Connolly's piece? Because I thought this was fascinating.
It validating, I would say, is the word that comes to mind, because I thought that line was great. There's a lot of people that are rich and miserable.
Yeah.
You know? It's just wealth does not equate happiness or fun or entertainment. And as some higher end administrator asked me a couple weeks ago, name the worst 6 teams in the SEC, and you can't say Vanderbilt twice. Like, it is, they are going to be so far up against it. Those people are going to be legitimately miserable. I had a good conversation this weekend with a big Maryland fan, and he's like, honestly, I'd rather be in the Big 12 because our football team will never get past Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Washington, or we're never going to pass them. So what is our hope? Our hope is to have fun going 6-6, and then we're going to be miserable doing that. I'm like, well, okay. So, would you rather be a Maryland fan or an Iowa State fan? I mean, I think it's an interesting question, and I would say over the last 10 years, Iowa State's had more success than Maryland anyway. Now, Maryland did win a
Correct.
national championship in basketball, and what was that? 2002. So they have that for them. But yeah, I just think it's
When they were in the ACC.
when they're in the ACC, there's so many unintended consequences, and what the Big Ten and the SEC are going to spend their money on is coach buyouts and trying to buy the best team, but it's going to be really, really difficult because you're not going to outspend. You're still, even those schools are not going to outspend the big dogs in their conferences. And it's almost an impossible ask.
I don't know. So there's another aspect of this too, that like there's certain things that just everybody's paying the players now.
Correct.
Right? Like, so, and like we've said often on this show, like players want to play.
Mm-hmm.
Culture still matters. Like players still want to go to a place where fans care.
That's the other part. Yes.
Where fans go. And if these same schools are just getting pounded because this isn't like the NFL where the Lions, well, you suck, well, you get the number 1 pick now. Like that's never going to happen in college football. He goes on to basically says, who's the new Clemson in the Big 12? Like, because there's somebody from the Big 12.
Somebody's going to emerge. Yep.
Who's going to emerge, and who's that going to be? I mean, do we just automatically say Utah? I think TCU is a sleeper. I don't know about this year specifically. I just think long term they have a lot of advantages there. Where does Iowa State fit in that hierarchy? Is it Oklahoma State? Although I would argue, as good as they were at the end of last year, I just don't know if Gundy long term is gonna. I mean, he could get canceled tomorrow. Like I just don't know. You know what I mean? Like it's like every other week, Gundy does something.
Mike.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he's a really good coach, and I personally think he's awesome for the league. But
you have
fascinating.
You have Baylor printing T-shirts just saying, "Hey, we pay players."
Yeah, what did you think about that? Is the NIL guy? It's a bad look, isn't it? Like,
hey, got him headlines, I guess. So,
but like everybody pays players, Baylor.
Well, that's kind of I was like, this isn't something new here.
Like I would love to be in Dave Aranda's office when they came up with that idea to be like, well, we're gonna brag about everybody's paying the players, Dave.
Yeah, I mean, I guess maybe it finds an 18 or 19-year-old or 17 or 18-year-old goes, oh yeah, well that maybe, I don't know. It got from a marketing perspective, I guess it kind of worked, but yeah, I thought it was interesting. We pay players too. We'd like to pay them more, FYI. But no, I think that is where this next 18 months will be super fascinating as we kind of transition with this new league. Who steps out in front? I think K-State's got an argument.
Kansas State absolutely does.
I think the way they've really attacked this and with their foundation, I think Iowa State's right there too. And that's why this year will be
isn't this an important year?
It is. It almost has an outsized expectation because everyone's going to be asking themselves who is going to emerge from this new league. And I would say this: America can be kind of a dumb place sometimes. And so if you emerge first, you might get more attention later on because you remember that first year Iowa State was really good and yada yada yada. So, but I thought Connolly's point of the Premier League was really good in that. You've got Chelsea and Man United, just for those that may not be watching the Premier League, they spend a bunch. Like they spend recklessly, but they end up spending recklessly and they keep firing their coaches left and right.
And the Yankees did that.
It's very, very similar. And so it's just like, yeah.
Then you had our teams, the Cardinals and the Braves, where you didn't have as many championships, but the Cardinals did. But you're constantly there winning divisions, and you're much more conscientious of how you spend your money. And to me, that's kind of where I hope Iowa State can be in this league. It really Major League Baseball is the perfect way to compare college football now.
Yeah,
without
it is
the cap, right? Well, I guess that's going to change.
But then also you basically have, all the money in two conferences, and so it's like if all the high spending teams, like if the Dodgers, Yankees, Red Sox, and Rangers were all in the AL East. I mean, that's really what college football is going to be. And then you got other leagues that don't, and you can still qualify for the playoff if you're in that other league, which is great. And so I think Iowa State is in a great spot right now. I think this year's super important. It's a good year to be good. because you're going to start to get some attention of who's going to emerge. I will say this on the basketball end. I know this isn't a basketball conversation, but I think as Cyclone fans, we got to prepare ourselves. This league is going to be ridiculous. And so Iowa State, from a talent perspective, will be better than it was a year ago. The win-loss record probably won't be as good. And so I think you got to start adjusting of you finish 4th or 5th in this league, you might be a 3 seed still in the NCAA tournament. And so just starting to understand that I don't think there's going to be a better basketball league in a long time than what the Big 12 will be this year. It is unbelievably loaded on the basketball side. But football-wise, why not Iowa State this year? And if you can do it, then you really set yourself up for the future of, okay, Iowa State can be a real threat going forward, and that's only going to help the cause.
Yeah, good point on the basketball. It's almost like Iowa State's got to go a little bit the opposite of Oklahoma football, as far as because I was having this conversation with my uncle who lives in Scottsdale, Chandler, Arizona. Chandler, home of Brock Purdy.
There you go.
And he's like kind of into it, but he's getting more into it now that the Arizona schools are in the Big 12 because he follows my work and that's how it went. And we were discussing the basketball thing. It's like, Jesus Christ, like Arizona. I don't think Iowa State fans realize how good Arizona State's been in basketball.
Arizona.
Yeah, Arizona State too, though.
Yeah,
like, they're getting better. Like they are
Hurley,
not
Hurley's done okay for sure. Yeah,
I mean they're coming around. Like they're no slouch. Like that game in Tempe is tough. You're going west. Sure. You know what I mean? You see what I'm not saying they're a top 10 type team,
right? But
I'm saying all of these schools. Colorado, like, do you remember the old days when Iowa State would go and play those terrible Colorado teams? Yep. But the elevation and you got, you know, and Tab Boyle's been there since we've been doing this. Like, you know, he's got an established program there. Utah's going to be just like going to BYU. Like, it's not going to be easy.
So this is flown under the radar. Do you guys realize what BYU is doing in basketball recruiting right now?
Well, they had that new coach and they basically. Didn't like a booster just put him there and said, I'm going to buy every player you want?
Yep.
Yeah.
And
okay. Look I know enough about it.
Yeah. They have, they are in on almost every top 5 guy now.
Even, so they're basically throwing the church thing out as far as that goes. Because it used to be they had to have X amount of their roster was Mormon.
And they're super heavy right now in the international game. So their coach was the main assistant for the Phoenix Suns, has great international ties. And so their coach is best friends with the owner of the Utah Jazz, who's also a young guy, and now the Utah hockey team. And so the owner, he's basically like, hey, we're going to make BYU successful, you and me. Like, it's almost like it's back to their college days. And this guy is funding all the players possible. And the coach is getting them because he's got the NBA ties. So I think BYU is one of those teams as well this year and going forward will be a tough out in the conference as well. And, you know, they were a surprise last year to me and they held up pretty well. And I think they're only going to get better. So the point is basketball is going to be a complete grind.
Well, you could make an argument that Iowa State's a top 5 team going into the season. Like I could make an argument.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that they're not even picked in the top 2 of the Big 12.
I'd be curious if they will be.
I don't think they will be.
I think Kansas. Well, I think it's going to be Kansas, Houston.
Yeah.
And then Arizona. Iowa State could be picked 4th or 5th in the Big 12.
Yeah. But and in some preseason national polls in the top 5 too. Honestly, like
it's crazy.
Isn't it wild?
It is. It is.
And then these, I can't wait. I was dragging my feet. I wasn't ready for the season. I was like, no. Delay. I want my summer, and now I'm ready to go. I hope fans are getting there too.
I was Saturday night, and it was warm, but I'm like, I'm ready to be at the tailgate lots. Like, let's just get this thing started. So
I could go without the 105.
Yeah,
in the tailgate lot.
My brother-in-law brought a PS5 with the game, and I played that.
Oh my God! Did you see I had that on the rundown?
That was a mistake because I'm like, God, no,
so. Again, another chance to plug another great sponsor here. Completely rebuilding this basement. You'll love it. You haven't even seen it. What we
looks
did
like you got some new posters back there.
Yeah, I did. I'm kind of redecorating in the office too. But then I ripped down my projector. No more projector here. But we've got. So I go to Nebraska Furniture Mart there in Clive, and
You get a
Timmy
big
Mullen
dog?
and the boys. Yeah, I bought the 77-inch LG
Yeah.
with the and I ripped out my surround sound because you don't really need it anymore with these sound bars, and like the technology is just so much better.
Technology is
But
really
then I put two 40 inches beside it, and I'm like,
Ooh.
well, I'm using the Mart card, and it's like 30 months, no interest or whatever. I'm like, I may as well throw a PS5 on there and get NCAA football. So I did. I did this Blum like 2.5 weeks ago. I have not taken it out of the package yet. And it's just like, I don't know if I've just matured that much or if this is indicative of how busy I
Well-
am that I have no time to do that type of stuff. But like, I'm worried that I'm not even going to play the game. So is it worth it? Like,
Yes.
so you're going to come over. I got a second controller. I'm ready to go.
So 6-year-old started playing it, and Everett, who's been a bit of part of the podcast here, he has one favorite. He just throws it to Daniel Jackson every down.
Really?
Daniel Jackson is his guy. Daniel Jackson in his last game had like 18 catches for 310 yards. I was like,
Kind of
Everett.
like Jaden Higgins in the bowl game.
Yeah, it's like Everett, you got to see the field. He's like, no, 16's my guy. So anyway, Daniel Jackson prime for a breakout
That's cool.
year. No,
That's
it is.
cool.
It is like, I'm old now, but the graphics on that thing, I was like, holy smokes! Like I felt like I was in Jack Trice for that game. If you start playing it, it's gonna be hard to stop. Just FYI.
Yeah, I'll play it, but I mainly got it so like when you come over, we can
We should
play with a
you know, we
buddy
should-
every
we
once
should
in a while. I'm not
sit-
gonna
oh,
do a
I got
dynasty.
an
I don't
idea.
have time for that.
Let's get Aiden. If he's still loud in the basement after the flooding incident of 24, let's get some cameras and we'll do some live stream.
Oh, we should do that.
There we go. Be Twitch guys. We could be Twitch guys.
I don't even know how to work that.
I don't
God, I'm dating myself here. But I was like, well, I mean, this no interest thing. What's another $400? You know, I'm already had to get new carpet. Man, thanks to my friends at Farm Bureau and Colin Newell, the insurance took care of me.
Should have the PS5. No, the graphics, like it looks just like Jack Trice Stadium, and the sounds, like they did a really nice job. I was impressed.
Well, that's encouraging. We'll fire that thing up here before too long, and you and me can go at it. I just thought that was funny. It's been literally sitting there collecting dust. And I took the PlayStation out of the package yesterday. The game still hasn't been open, and my daughter's been playing her Sims game from the PS4 on the PS5. Like that's been the extent of this thing. It's just like I just totally pissed away $400 there.
They still make the Sims game.
Oh yeah, it's like on steroids. You should see it. It's crazy. Like she's got like her own like pet hospital. She's got It's like she got the animal one, like the pet one. They have all these expansion packs and stuff you can get. She loves it.
I want a listener to message me if you ever played Roller Coaster Tycoon. Do you ever play that one?
I remember it back in the day. I didn't really get into that, but I loved like Sim City.
Sim City. Yeah, buddy.
I used to do the farm one. So you make your own farm. But like, I'm going to put beans over there. I'm going to get some livestock.
There is something social about kids wanting to play Sims and not actually go outside and do it themselves. But that's okay.
There's reality there.
Yeah.
We're actually having a good man. Now we're just totally off the rails. I gotta
go. We're gonna go raise some money here in 7 minutes. So
where are you gonna go? What do you got going on?
No, I got a phone call.
Okay. Yeah. You don't have an event. I feel like you have an event every other day.
It's been a lot, but hey, it's been good. So appreciate all the Cycle Nation support. Hey, can keep the pedal down, everybody. This is going to be an interesting 9 months, and the more we can do, the better.
I don't know. I feel more optimistic than I did a week ago.
About football or just the entire environment?
No, about the entire environment.
I agree with that.
I mean, I'm not like bouncing off the walls yet, but I've been pretty negative, I think, with this whole thing, like in the last 2 weeks. And I've had enough people reach out to me and, hey, Williams, the world's not ending. And I know I'm one of those, like, I just see the reality on the wall. And I think there's a real need for like Olympic sports and like club sports. And like, I think that it enhances the entire university experience for students. It gives people opportunities. And I am not dumb. and we are going to see a consolidation here, just like we have in my world in media and in many of your worlds. Right? Like, and it just like that was my downfall, and it
Yeah. Well,
like there's people who've talked me off. I'm no longer standing on the ledge looking down. I've backed up a few steps. So there we go.
and then as somebody wise once said, I think maybe it was Wally Burnham, never underestimate how screwed up the other guy is. Like, it wasn't quite that.
Well, if that's all we're going off of, I feel pretty good because I know Iowa State's been in pretty good hands for a long time.
Exactly.
Financially, there's not a lot of debt. You've been doing a great job with the NIL. The coaches are very responsible with how they spend their money. Like all that is good. This was my analysis has been more from like a big picture sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, you can get caught up in the we don't have enough, but then it's also like, and some of these people are really dumb with what they're doing. So, like from that aspect, I actually talked to a friend of mine who has a colleague who worked on the Iowa equipment staff. They basically just fired all of their part-time employees last week. They don't need them. They can't afford to pay them anymore because they got to. And that's going to be pretty commonplace. So you're not going to be able to spend the same money. But as the old economist once said, a dollar saved is a dollar earned. Like if you're not spending it recklessly, then it's going to help you. So I agree with you, C-Dub. The more, the better. Like that's only going to help the cause. But I do think Iowa State's got the right people in place, and we'll have a good plan of attack. And as long as we still get the support and people show up and continue to do what they're doing,
that's really what matters is the fans, and that's why I was so like, because I can just see where this is going, and if stories start to get out that Iowa State's not perceived to be not investing as much as everybody else, it wouldn't be that. It's just there's only so much money, right? Like you can't create it. I could see this becoming very professional, where it's like, well, I'm a Royals fan, but at least we have the number one pick, and like if that's like I could see this turning into, well, we're not putting any money into the players and getting good players. Why should I go to the games? And that's where I started to be a little bit
you're right. So
terrified.
Iowa State's biggest advantage right now is the fan base from a number standpoint, from a showing up standpoint, from wearing the stuff standpoint, from just being super encouraging. The point you don't want to get to in this whole space, and whether it's from the results on the field and or the feeling from the fan base that you're not doing enough to invest in the program, is the fans stop caring.
Correct.
At that point, then it's going to be really hard. And so you got to keep the momentum going. But I do think this is the great time for this year because you're going to be loaded across the board. And if this can be a springboard, you could actually take a leap forward to your competition rather than being concerned about the past. And this is why
agree.
I'm so excited for this year to come up when it does. And this could be a really fun year. I truly believe, and I said this up in Okoboji, I think the next 9 months in cycling athletics could be one we write about. I mean, I think this is lining up talent-wise, and again, the games aren't played on hypotheticals here, but I think football's in a really good spot. I think wrestling's in an unbelievable spot to get on the podium again, and then men's and women's basketball, as we know about, the talent is there. And, volleyball is going to have an upswing as well. There's a lot of good things happening, but let's capitalize on this while we can. So keep investing. Don't say, hey, somebody else is going to do it. This is the time to do it. And I think we're going to get the payoff in the long run will be a lot better because of this year.
Yeah. Well said. Get out of here. You got a call to get to. I'll thank our sponsors one more time. He's Brent Blum. Appreciate him stopping by. Wednesday's show will be Jeff Woody and Grant Mahoney will be sitting in for us as I'm going to be out of town, and they will be knocking out Williams and Bloom Wednesday for us, which we appreciate. They've done a phenomenal job with their Kicking It show. The numbers keep going up, and we appreciate them. Also appreciate our presenting sponsor, Mechdyne, the Mechdyne Corporation, MECHDYNE.com. We are in the Wild Rose Casino Studios. As always, please rate, review, subscribe, give us 5 ratings wherever you listen to your Cyclone Fanatic podcast. We're on YouTube as well. My name is Chris Williams. Have an awesome week, everybody.